Just waiting for YouTube. I was just about to say come on YouTube, and it uploaded, so yeah, it didn't take too long, thankfully, so hopefully all will go well. Anyway, hi guys, your boy M.K.S here, back to another video, and welcome to the third and penultimate part of my list for how I think dyslexics can benefit time for all. We planned to do this last Friday, but I had a problem with it's called a switchboard or something, with my electricity, and I think at one point only the ceiling lights worked. So Mum got an electrician. The next day I was worried about things in the fridge and the freezer going bad as well after a while. I didn't really think about that then. I sort of remembered, like, I thought, oh gosh, I hope things don't go bad in the fridge and the freezer and that kind of thing. But yeah, so yeah, all out of the blue, it just sometimes happens. So an electrician came along. He temporarily fixed it last time, but he did say it was only a temporary measure, to be fair. But anyway, nice life story. But that was on Friday when I came back from my sort of tea morning that I go to, and most of the time. But nowadays I go to this one on Friday. So yeah, I didn't get around to doing my plans because my initial plan was on the 5th, which was the first Friday of the month. I wanted to focus on like what we could do for town football, and then the 6th. Well, that was a national team and sort of my vision as a dyslexic for the national team. And then the 6th was supposed to be about Serie A, the Italian league. And then the 7th, which the number 7 reminds me of, was supposed to be about Celtic. So I sort of combined town football generally, like on Saturday. So to make up for Friday, I thought I combined the national team and Serie A. But the other thing is, I was struggling to come up with enough ideas without trying not to repeat myself too much. But yeah, I'm focusing on the Facebook screen, Facebook Friday, as I said last time, because yesterday I focused on the YouTube screen, and sometimes I mix them up. But anyway, these are pointers number 21 to 30. But yeah, I'd love to talk about like what we could contribute to specifically like to the Italian national team, to specific club teams in Italy or club teams generally, and also to Serie A, Italian league, like attracting sponsors to sponsor Serie A, footballs in parks and schools as well, and that kind of thing, which would hopefully benefit the national team in the longer term, but also could benefit club teams, I guess, as they could play for those club teams, and the Coppa Italia, the Italian Cup, and the Italian Super Cup as well, which I think I'll fight on Sundays, Super Cup Sundays. So sometimes maybe in January, maybe if and when I can, I hope to talk about like the Italian national team on Fridays, or and maybe sometimes the Coppa Italia on Fridays, and Serie A. Some people call it the Serie A, but I prefer to call it Serie A. Serie A on, not Serie A, but Serie A on Saturdays, and then the Coppa, and then the Super Cup on Super Cup Sundays, because both start with SU. But anyway, so just to clarify, but that's more for plans for January. When I talk about Juventus and Italian football generally, Juventus in January, July, and June and July. But anyway, I don't want to give too much away, so I'm going to crack on to the rest of this list. So point number 21. I'll say these are points number 21 to 30, a continuation of the list from last week, just under a week ago. I finally got around to this about 11:30. But yeah, point number 21, I'd love to talk about a campaign to make Italian football great again. One thing I meant to get around to last week, and I sort of was struggling to come up with ideas and stay focused and finish off parts 3 and 4, hence I'm finishing off just under a week later. But yeah, I'd love to have a campaign to #make Italian football great again. Please make Italian football great again. I was thinking like envisioning it on billboards and things like that. Sorry, and basically a campaign, as I say, to sort of get Italians to be proud of their football team, and also encouraging sponsorship as well. And also people from the diaspora, I would pronounce it, I should do one of those things where I Google it, and then if it says how to pronounce diaspora, then click on it, and then I'll try and learn how to pronounce it. But how would you pronounce would you pronounce it diaspora or diaspora? I don't know. But yeah, bringing them to connect together to talk, like say for instance, Italian business, people, Italian American or Italian Argentinian or Brazilian or whatever, business people, for instance, talking about ways to attract investment, because they'll probably know how to do that as part of their business, or even donating to it themselves, following Italian football and showing it as a followship, so that that would encourage more sponsorship into Italian football. I'd love for as many sponsors to invest as much money as possible into Serie A, so they could give more prize money and that kind of thing. I hope to come to in more details, but yeah, I'd love for those from the diaspora to come back to, or to come into it, to also help Italian football to be great again. So that's part of my vision as a dyslexic fan of Italian football. And yeah, just to bring back the glory days. I think that covers everything for point number 21. As I say, 21 again. I think like connecting the diaspora back to the roots. It could be a way for the diaspora to connect with their roots through football. As a fan of Italian football, I'd rather them do that than in other ways. But yeah, so they could help with like finding ways to attract funding and investment, sponsorship, and that kind of thing, and all sorts of things like that. Moving on, number 22, looking at what Italian football can do in the future, how can it improve, and all the ideas I applied, generally speaking, could also be applied to Celtic, give or take, pretty much exactly the same. I mean, I even think like in parks and schools, but I suppose that could be in Glasgow, or Celts around the world being encouraged to play football and practice as much as possible, and pass on information to each other, and teach and train each other, and train together, and that kind of thing. Including like older people training younger people and that kind of thing. I know there's got to be a balance. You've got to be careful of like safeguarding child protection and that kind of thing, which we talk about. But I guess it's got to be a balance, because I think young people could miss out on opportunities like mentorship and things like that. I know what our rivals will say, because I mean, they often, unfortunately, I know I mentioned it a few times, but unfortunately, there was a child abuse scandal in the past. Hopefully, it was not too many people involved. I don't know how many people were involved in it, but I mean, they accuse us of it as fans. But hopefully, obviously, most Celtic fans, I would like to think, are against that kind of thing, including myself. Yeah, hopefully, most Celtic fans are against that. Like, hopefully, 90 or even 90%, 99% are against that kind of thing. But unfortunately, some people at the club support it, but hopefully the club can learn from those historical mistakes. But yeah, so initially, my initial plan, as I say before, I had my power outage, which cut off most of the power in my house, was to focus on Italian football, the Italian national team on Friday, the Italian league, and the club teams, Serie A teams, and possibly the Coppa Italia as well, that kind of thing, on Saturday and on Sunday, mainly to focus on Celtic and to an extent like the Italian Super Cup maybe. So that was the initial plan. But yeah, certain things happened with basically the power and that kind of thing, and staying on topic and staying focused and that kind of thing. And talking of which, yeah, I hope the Italian football can move to adapt in the future and become more attacking. One thing I talked about before as well is, which I just want to repeat that point, is, I know I do get way to repeat myself, but I guess I suppose repetition and practicing things hopefully helps to improve and short memory and that kind of thing. But I'd love for Italy to produce, if you like, the next best players in all possible positions. After I thought initially of like, what if Italy had players like Messi, the two Ronnies, Ronaldo, the R9 from Brazil, and Ronaldo from Portugal, the current version, who's coming towards the end of his career, and the former player as well. But also like the next Haaland, the next Mbappe, Kante, Pele, Maradona, Scholes, Gerrard, Beckham, and the next best goalkeepers as well, midfielders, next Pirlo, next Roberto Baggio, and that kind of thing. I know those already played for Italy before, but producing those next crop of best possible players in all possible positions. And like, I think it'd be interesting homework to do, like homework, if you like, you can call it that, to watch videos of like great players and try those skills and be given the freedom to make mistakes, especially at least midfielders. Goalkeepers, I think, shouldn't make too many mistakes and should keep it simple, and just sometimes clear the ball if necessary or whatever. Their main job should be to keep the ball out of the back of that and not give them way too much away. I wish if I was more patient and sure, if I had the ability to put this team together so quickly, I'd love to sort of keep these ideas close to my chest, close to my heart, close to my chest, or my sleeve or whatever, and go to whatever the best saying is or whatever, and go to share these ideas more secretly with the towns, but with those involved in town football. But yeah, I think the goalkeeper's main job is to keep the ball out of the back of the net. The defenders are to protect the goal, and that's their main job as well. But I think the midfielders, at least two or preferably three midfielders, I think, can afford to get a bit more skill. Maybe one could cover the defence, but others could go forward with a bit more skill and be allowed to make mistakes and run at players and that kind of. Hopefully, with some end product. Similar with obviously the strikers, but especially could afford to make mistakes. But I'm not going to go into too much into strategy as well, so I'm going to struggle with my speech, right? But I'm not going to go into too much strategy. Gosh, imagine how bad I'd be if I actually drank alcohol. Anyway, maybe it'd have the opposite effect. Maybe it will save me up a bit. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to try it. But someone said to me, maybe if you took drugs, it would level you out or something like that. Or words that effect, anyway. But yeah, basically for the towns to produce the best possible players in all possible positions, and I think it'd be good to play entertaining, attractive, and attacking football, basically. But sometimes to defend when necessary. But at the same time, to me, the most important thing is the result. Just like I was talking about with Celtic and Bro Wilfred, as I call him, our new manager, like saying it's about the performance rather than the result. I think I get what he means actually, and he probably means in the longer term. But with Celtic sports, the Celtic fans were used to winning quite a lot domestically, and we're not the most patient, I guess. But moving on, actually, I forgot to say in point number 21, I knew there was something. I talked about creating Zoom groups for fans of Italian football and fans of Celtic worldwide, and I hope to put them together. I hope to have Zoom chats with my fellow Italian football fans as well as Celtic fans sometimes, and like recording them onto YouTube or TikTok. Excuse me. Similar with my fellow Dyslexics as well, and even maybe discussing with Dyslexics like what do you think we could contribute to Italian football. I could discuss with them on Zoom, as well as like people maybe commenting on the videos and that kind of thing. Number 23, I'd say fundraising for more pitches and things like that, which I've been talking about, and I did mention that before. But I was thinking like when I talked about giving away some of the strategies, like what if other teams, like what if English football, Spanish football, French football, or whatever, copied some of those strategies and said, yeah, why don't we give those opportunities? But I thought it would be cool if Italian football had so much money. And Italy had so much investment in football, like invested 10% of the budget or something into football, 10% of their revenue, like their country's revenue, and businesses giving 10% of their revenue and that kind of thing, and being given tax exemptions to give to the football teams to build more pitches and stadiums and things like that, and to encourage footballs in parks and schools and everyone in Italy, all the citizens of Italy and those from the diaspora getting behind the teams. But yeah, with more funding, hopefully they'll have more opportunities to play football. Partly, I jokingly say I want to ban all the other sports. I jokingly say I want to ban weddings and marriages, but that wouldn't be very libertarian of me, of course. But I wouldn't really ban them, but I'd certainly discourage other things other than just playing football as much as possible and really improving, practicing as much as possible. But I think the funds to enable people, like including those who are from poorer backgrounds, to have opportunities. My favourite figure, 10%. I'd even love for like sponsors to sponsor about 10% of people to play football. So if they do get an injury, they could still have I was going to say a life insurance policy. They could still have an insurance policy, a bit like a life insurance policy, but for injuries specifically. So, or even life insurance if necessary. But so that if they're unable to play football, they could still have enough money, or if heaven forbid the worst happens to them or whatever, don't want to be too morbid about it, but if basically like they could have life insurance as well. But yeah, in case they get an injury like a broken leg, I'm thinking more off. So heaven forbid, but if it stops their football career, so people can take more of a risk trying to get into football. Yeah, that requires more funding for those dreams to work, for those ideals and dreams to work. Number 24, as they practice for at least an hour a day, every single possible day throughout the year, and for all those involved in Italian football to connect together. I think these were some of the ideas I wanted to get through on last Saturday, but I think I was a bit tired, and also I guess I was wondering whether I'm going to have enough ideas to cover with my habit of trying to cover 10 ideas for each video. I thought I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that, so I decided to leave it. Much as I wanted to complete it on Saturday last week, or actually wanted to complete it initially last Friday, so a week ago, but anyway, here's what it is, as they say, whatever that means. In other words, there's bugger all I can do about it now, but excuse the expression, but yeah, it tends to practice as many hours as possible, and I love for Italian politicians, councillors, the FIGC, the Italian FA that runs all Italian football, and Serie A, maybe even overseas football owners in Italy, and parents, teachers, schools, and whatnot, to encourage as much football as possible, especially for younger people, to encourage them to play football for at least an hour a day, I'd say, and as many hours as possible, preferably 6 or 7, 8, 9, 10 hours or whatever, and improve their diets as well. And like, say for instance, each hour they do homework, they could have an hour where they play football as reward, or each hour they spend online, they can be encouraged to play football for an hour. Anshrek will go for lots of walks as well to keep fit, encouraged to walk to school instead of cycle, walk or cycle instead of getting a bus or a car, especially when and wherever possible. Go swimming and keep fit and active to get the pride back to Italian football. But yeah, all the citizens, including the migrants, to be included through football. So one idea I have, even which I talked about recently, is for them to wear, as many Italian citizens as possible to wear football kits. So the Italian football kit, and that could encourage integration, which a lot of people talk about, like whether African or Muslim migrants or whatever they might be from wherever around the world, they all come together as one to be behind the Italian football team. I thought if it's a national team as well, it could be a unifying thing rather than like regional kits like AC Milan or Inter Milan or Roma or whatever. But yeah, moving on, number 25. I know I talked about like having the Mediterranean Republic, Tricolor, and other such cups and tourneys, as I call them, tournaments, leagues, and things like that. Number 26, also the Roman Empire Cup, a cheeky way for Italy to sort of give back to countries it colonised, but at the same time, hopefully it still benefit football-wise because it'd be good for their PR. I'm thinking of a story someone told me about Microsoft and Apple, but I think I'll talk about that hopefully another time. Basically, I said even when Microsoft was accused of, like, not an antitrust, but accused of stealing Apple's ideas or something, even when they were in trouble, they still tried to do something that benefited their business or something. I can't remember the story, or I think I understood it quite exactly. But moving on, number 27, I wanted to give a shout out. I think of like the number 27 as like rewards. So I wanted to give a shout out to some people, shout out to Larry Bolton, who often comments on my videos. I really appreciate Larry. Alicia, who gave me an interview for her channel. My brain's not working, so I can't remember the channel. Mind Your Thoughts, Mind Your Words, I think it is. Mind Your Words podcast. And my friend Yagnesh Palmer used to go to school with me a long time ago when we were young. Unfortunately, it was a long time ago now. But he commented quite a few times on not my last video, but I think a couple of videos before that. So I made a couple since then, or whatever. But I was focusing on the YouTube screen, so I couldn't see his comments afterwards. So I thought I'd give him a shout out. He said he wanted a shout out, so that gave me this idea. And I can't think of anyone else. Rory, who gave me some feedback as well. David McGowan, I think it is. McGowan. Celtic fan who gave me some feedback as well, constructive criticism, but to hopefully help me to improve. Sorry, I haven't implemented those ideas as well as I like, but yeah, no, I talk a lot about as well about the Italian football's like Wall and Walk and Hall of Fame offering awards and rewards generally on listing on like websites and on YouTube and TikTok and social media generally to give thanks to those who contribute to Italian football. So I thought there could be lots of different awards, and hopefully in January I'll talk about those. Like I thought, like for the best overseas manager, for someone like Mourinho, a bit of a divisive character. Excuse me, and I think he has his flaws, but he did help Inter Milan and Roma win in Europe. So I think he should be given some accolades, whatever you think of him. Unfortunately, Roma did go a bit bad in the end, but to be fair, he helped Roma to win their first, or maybe second, European trophy in its history, and he also got them to another final. So I think he was fairly close to getting to another final. So not a bad run, I guess, for what Roma's history is. Although I have my doubts about him, I have my negative thoughts about him, but he did a good job for Inter Milan and Roma. But yeah, I think giving thanks to those who benefit, all those who invest in it, those who help youth development, those who help the national team, those who help club teams, those who help Italian teams to win outside of Italy, like in the Conference League, Europa League, Champions League, World Club Cup, Super Cup, or things like that, and that kind of thing. I think that would be pretty cool. Number 28, using negative times. I think I could say this in point number 21, but I mentioned recently about turning negatives into positives. For instance, I'll say using negative times to, I suppose that could build resilience. Thinking about dyslexia, like a lot of people say, it's where you feel you have nothing to lose, so you can just go for things and achieve and whatnot. And yeah, it's the underdog sort of triumphing in business and things like that. But yeah, I thought something like remember, or please remember 94 where we lost in the final. I know there's some painful memories, but hopefully that will spur Italians to say, yeah, we want to go out and make up for that time and win things. Please remember 2018 when we didn't qualify. Please remember 2022 when we didn't qualify, and that kind of thing. So we use that painful memory to say we want to go and win, and also remembering the victories we had as well. So please remember those as well. It could be said, but also hopefully the whole team. I could have said in point number 24. I guess could have should order the whole. I'd love for everyone in Italy. Again, I might go through this a bit more in January and especially in February. In March. I beg your pardon. January and March, when it's Italy's Unification Day as well in March. And I think of January because of my patterns, like it's the first month of the year. I think look after number one symbolically, and it's my selfish dream to see Italian football teams do well, including the national team and club teams. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Brain's gone blank, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I hope the whole country will, and all those behind Italian football will like sort of chant the team on. I think similar with Celtic, I'd love for everyone. A lot of people don't want to see this manager that we've got with Celtic, and they have their doubts, and I have my fears about him as well, and whether he's good enough, but I hope he proves us all wrong. And some say we've got to give him time, but I'd love for like 60,000 fans, or whatever that's the capacity of Celtic, and all the fans around the world as well of Celtic, to chant his name, so say, old brother Walford, which was the founder of Celtic, which I talked about last week. But similar with Italian football, I'd love for them to sing songs and get behind the team and bring that positive energy, which I hope will push the players on. Sometimes they say the fans can be like the 12th man. Obviously, there's 11 players on the pitch, and the fans can be the 12th man. So hopefully, the fans of Italian football as well, and Celtic will push their team on, spur them on, and sort of chant them, even if they sort of have their doubts and maybe have their fears. Like just sing to sort of get the players buzzing, and hopefully putting in 100% effort. So even though, so in Celtic's case, even though they might not believe in the manager if they're honest, but they can sing the name and just give him all they can while he's here at the club. And if it still goes wrong, then at least they know they give it their best shot. But yeah, I know pessimism can stick in, especially if we're not playing too well. But I think if people keep singing his name, hopefully the players will also react and respond, and the energy will be positive enough. Hopefully, I know I'm a bit of a pessimist myself, but hopefully the energy will be positive enough to see us through. Number 29. In my imagination, I see I'd love to see, and I know I've kind of mentioned this before, but Anglo-Indians, Indos, Hapas, Hafus, and other Eurasians. Can't think of any other Eurasian groups. Anglo-Indians, Indos, Kristangs, Hapas, Hafus, and if there's any other Eurasian groups, and also Dyslexics, I'll say. And Dyslexics and Dyscalculics and Dysgraphics also playing football and having different teams and playing against Italian teams and helping them to practice. Larry Bolter, I'm just going to quickly read his message. Unfortunately, it looks like it's a bit of a sad one. Been at the hospital most of the day with the wife. She's got health issues. I hope your wife gets better, Larry. Being busy, I suppose it's a bit of a negative one, but at least you support each other. Keep up with the outstanding vibes. I'll try. I'm struggling. I keep starting on my words and messing up for some reason, but probably getting nervous or whatever. But yeah, I'll try to spread positive vibes if I can. Hazel, I think is that Jewish thing. But yeah, thanks, Larry. I know he says he's had to leave, he's after views. But yeah. I look for all those different groups, like teams of dyslexics, dysgraphics, dyscalculics, maybe even dyspraxics, and different Eurasian groups, as I say, having their own teams and playing against Italian teams, and in many cases Celtic teams, and playing against each other and helping each other to practice. And again, some of my ideas and strategies I should keep in my mind, and keep it clean and family friendly. And on that note, and also not wanting to share too much strategies. I think I've already overshared about producing the next players, giving them opportunities to make mistakes. But anyway, on that note, I'm out, and peace and love.